everybody. So I hope your day is going well, and I hope that you come into math class and you got all settled and ready to go. I am recording this lesson for you. I can find area of shapes in a grid. Now let me tell you, you are going to take notes during this lesson. So pause the video right now, get out a piece of paper and write down today's date and I can statement. Go ahead and pause. Okay, now we should be ready to begin. Now I will tell you that when this video is over, you're going to put your name on the piece of paper you took notes on and you're going to turn it in the turn-in tray and it's going to be worth 5 points. I'm going to check when I come back on Wednesday. So today I can find area of shapes on a grid. So we learned how to find area of several different shapes. We had the square, we had the rectangle, we had the parallelogram, we had the triangle, and finally we learned the trapezoid. And then we talked about surface area of rectangular prisms of boxes. And with all those shapes, you had a drawing in front of you that had some dimensions or lengths and widths labeled for you. Today we're going to talk about what happens if you get a shape that doesn't have any sides labeled, but it's just on a picture on a grid. So let's look at example number 1. Here's example number 1. Now you don't have to draw this picture because that would take forever. But as you can see, what we have here is a rectangle on a coordinate plane. And there's no sides labeled on this rectangle, but there is some information that we can use. So if I'm going to ask you to find the area of this rectangle, you first have to start with the area formula. Area equals length times width. So then you drop down, and we're going to plug in our length and width numbers. To get those, you just have to count the boxes or the units of each side. So if this side is the length, we can say there's 1, 2, 3 units. So the length is 3 units. I'm saying units because they don't tell us centimeters or inches or anything like that. Now for the width, let's say this is the width. All right, let's count those. 1, 2, 3, 4. It is 4 units. So then you drop down below and you multiply. Oh, there's Jay's. Hold on. Okay, baby interruption over. I am making a video at home, so we might get another baby interruption. All right, so where were we? So 3 units times 4 units gives us a total area of 12, and we say U for units, and it is area, so units squared. Okay, so we're counting units for our length and our width. Here's example number 2. Here's our next shape. This is a parallelogram. It looks like a rectangle's been pushed over. If we're going to find area of this, we write our formula. A equals base times height. So we're going to plug in some numbers. Remember to use the parentheses as your multiplication symbols. All right, so for the base, if this is our base, let's count our units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Notice I'm counting the boxes, not the lines. Now the height is a little more tricky. Remember, we want a straight up and down measurement for the height. So if the top of my parallelogram touches here, I'm going to count the straight units down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this parallelogram is 5 units tall. So we drop down again, and 6 times 5 is 30. So the area of this parallelogram is 30 units squared. All right. Pause the video, and I want you to go through the formula, drop down, plug in, drop down answer, and find the area of this parallelogram. Okay, so this is example 3. You should have your work written down on the paper. Remember, you don't have to draw these. So on your notes, you should have A equals base times height. you drop down. The base of this parallelogram is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units. And the height of this parallelogram, now that's harder to tell, but check it out. We can find it right here. 1, 2, 3 units. From the tippy top of that parallelogram to the baseline. So we drop down again. 6 times 3 is 18. So the area of this parallelogram is 18 units squared. Is that what you got? Remember, it has to look like this. Your formula, drop down the plug-in, and then drop down the answer with all 3 pieces. Alright, our next shape. Example number 4. This is a triangle. Alright, so we're going to start with our formula. Area of a triangle equals 1/2 times the base times the height. I sure hope you have these memorized by now. Alright, so let's look at the base. That's the flat line that the triangle sits on. So 1, 2, 3, 4 units is the base. And the height is from the tippy top of the triangle to the base, straight up and down. 1, 2, 3. So drop down. Now remember, you can take half of 4, or do 4 times 3 and take half of the answer. I'm going to go ahead and do half of 4. So half of 4 is 2. And drop down my times 3. So 2 times 3 is 6. So the total area of this triangle is 6 units squared. Alright, your turn. Example number 5. We're almost done. You write down example number 5 and do the work on your paper. Pause the video, and when you have your answer, hit play again and see if you got it right. Alright, on your paper, here's what you should have. The formula. It's a triangle, so it's 1/2 times the base times the height. Drop down. Bring your 1/2 down. The base number for this is 1, 2, 3, 4 units. Now the height might be tricky. Here's the tippy top of the triangle, so that's straight up and down to the bottom is 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so this time I'm going to do 4 times 4, which is 16, and take half of that, which is your other option with triangles. And half of 16 is 8. So you should have 8 units squared. Remember, you must have the units and you must have for area the squared. If you don't have those, you're not going to get that point because we're given a measurement. Ooh, okay, our last one. So we're on example number 6. This is the trapezoid. This is the challenge one. I want you to pause the video. I want you to find the area of this trapezoid on your paper and then play the video, and then let's see how you did. So here's what you should have. Area of a trapezoid equals 1/2 times the height times the top plus the bottom. Base 1 plus base 2. So we drop down and we want to put in these values. Now the height is from the tippy top to the base, or the bottom, so in the straight up and down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now the base 1, or the top, is across the top straight here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Ooh, get some bigger numbers. Now the bottom, or the base 2, is the bottom bigger line. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, so we gotta drop down, bring down the 1/2, and the times the height 9. Add together 20 plus 11 and you get 31. Now here's a predicament. We can't take half of 9, that's a decimal. We can't take half of 31, that's a decimal. So we're going to go ahead and do 9 times 31. So off to the side, 31 times 9. 9 times 1 is 9, 9 times 3 is 27. So we get an answer of 279. The last thing I have to do now is take half of that. So I want to take 279 and divide it by 2. So let's see if I can do this here. 2 goes into 2 once. So get 0. Drop down the 7. 2 goes into 7 3 times. 2 times 3 is 6. 7 minus 6 is 1. Drop down the 9. 2 goes into 19 9 times. And 2 times 9 is 18. Subtract, get a 1. So I'm not done. I have to add my decimal, my 0, and drop it down. And 2 goes into 10 5 times. And that comes out evenly. So my final answer is 139.5 area, so it's units squared. How did you? Did you get it? Remember, you could have used a calculator for these things. That's okay. But I hope you have all these stuff written down. If I'm grading this problem on your test, all right, you're getting 1 point for the formula, 1 point for the right plug-in numbers, and your last point for your completed answer. All right, so go turn your notes into the turn-in tray and get started on the Schoology quiz. And like I said, I hope to hear a good report when I return.